Hey, Sue, you got the sign-in sheet, right?
Oh, I have to sign it.
It's after 9:30. You're late. You're late. Everybody good? Remember some of you that were older? Remember the OJ trial? Remember the OJ trial?
Oh, yeah.
Remember, what was it, Johnny Cochran and Mark Shapiro and F. Lee Bailey? There they are. There they are. There they are. So,
Was he guilty?
let's not go there. Let's not go there. Let's not go there, okay? But we're glad to hear that's our law firm. So not that you guys will ever get in trouble, but if you do, this is, and Lucian's the main contact. He'll introduce his buddies in a second, okay? Let me go through some stuff before we have them chat. That's Lucian's bio. It's in the handout. Please take the handouts when you come in. There's a specific handout that we put out. If you ran out, I'll tell you what this is. This is really important, just so everybody knows. We'll get to this in a second. 3 stats, 3 handouts here I put up real quick that you guys need to be using on a regular basis. Where is the first one, Tim? Get to the first one. This one. I've had 2 realtors that are friends of mine that work for some of these companies, I won't say which company or who the realtor is, wanting to get their hands on this. So they can brag about their company, number 7 or number 9, whatever their number is. You guys got to use this on listing appointments. You're crazy if you don't, okay? Really, really good stuff. The other one is, not Lucian again, is the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, Reanimate It Easy. You just click a couple of buttons and subscribe. You get all the alerts. We're not putting this on Zoom anymore, as you know. So please go to the YouTube channel. And of course, the Monday and Thursday calls with Rock Title. You got to be on these calls in the beginning when you join the company to get the orientation as well as the exposure to the CRM. Really, so these 3 slides, gang, please. That one, market share totals, not Lucian, the YouTube channel, and of course the one suite and the one orientation. It's all in the handout, okay? In case you didn't know, a week from Tuesday is our one day. Everyone knows what one day is, right? This is last year's shirt. If you want a new one, if you want to get the brand new 2024 one, you got to come next Tuesday with me, Suzanne, and Wendy down to the Just One project. We need 15 people. I think we have 15 signed up. But we have 30 shirts. So we have 15 more shirts to give away. I'm sure you would all like a shirt, okay? You're only going to get a shirt if you bring in water or peanut butter.
No, you're only getting a shirt if you go down to volunteer.
Well, can they take 30 of us? Okay. I don't think they want 30 of us. That might be more than they can handle. But usually they want 10 or 15. But if you bring in some water, bring in some peanut butter, Suzanne will put you on the list. We'll do a little raffle. You get a nice, cool T-shirt, okay? So that's next Tuesday. These 2 good-looking guys, me and Jeff. Right? They're good-looking guys, and they're good-looking guys. That's us. We're doing this. I tell you, right? 2007, just so you know.
Haven't changed a bit.
I tell you, we did this class here, the buyer broker agreement. We're going to do it again in the Northwest. So you guys don't have to come if you've been to it already here in Summerlin. For those Northwest agents, they didn't get a chance to come down. We're going to do it again on what day? May 7th. May 7th, okay? Right after his meeting. Also, May 8th, a Canva class. Is Barbara here? Where's Barbara? There's Barbara, okay? There's Rock Title. They're all here today. That's a great class to learn Canva. If you don't know Canva, it's going to be live, correct?
Yes, that is going to
Here.
be in person here on the 8th.
On the 8th. Got it. So bring your laptop, get early, get a seat, log into the Wi-Fi, so you can get the scoop on Canva.
Can you 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, and also, everybody knows about this One Suite training that, hi everybody, that Justin does at 1 o'clock every Monday, and it's a Zoom, that's a live Zoom, and this week, this coming up Monday, he's gonna be teaching the Modern Drip Campaign Editor for Sync. Every week is a different topic, so Monday is Sync, the Modern Drip Campaign Editor. Jump onto the Zoom. You'll need to register at onerockstars.com. Click on training schedule, register. It'll give you the Zoom link. It's live, it's not recorded, and he's going to teach you how to sign your contacts in Sync up to a drip campaign. So utilize these classes. Tim talks about it every single week, but I don't think you realize what it is. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
And which one of these is it, Barbara? Remind them?
Yes, they see that One Suite training every Monday, 1 p.m. Nevada time. If you go to, down on the bottom, onerockstars.com, you can click on there. You would not believe what is in there. You really need to check it out. But the training schedule And every Monday, you can sign up for all of them all at once. Every week is a different topic. He'll show you how to set up your website, I mean, yeah, all of that. And yes, we're gonna be teaching it, here in person during the month of May, but this is happening every week, and he's great. Justin's an amazing teacher, so utilize those classes. They're different, and sometimes they're on setting up your website, sometimes they're on property alerts, that sort of thing. So please, please attend. This is for you every week.
Good stuff, good stuff. Thank you, Barbara. Okay, we got past that one. May 14th, Mary does this every month at a different real estate company. Last month she did it at United, is it United Realty, Pablo's company? She did one at Signature, now she's doing one in our office, May 14th. It's all LVR is invited. It's gonna be a zoo here that day, okay? We're gonna do the meeting out there, not in here, okay? And she's gonna give us an update on the NAR settlement, okay? She's been in meetings all week with politicians, with the president of NAR, with God knows who, okay? She's been in DC, she's been in Colorado, so she's on top of everything, okay? So make plans to come. That's gonna be early in the morning, 9 o'clock for about 90 minutes. Have a nice breakfast. But all of LVR is invited. So if you wanna come, the computers will be turned off, so don't come in and hop on MLS in the front. No, for 90 minutes, we're not gonna have any of the computers working, okay? We're gonna concentrate on what Mary's gonna talk about for the settlement. So some good stuff, okay? Also, if you guys wanna bowl, I think we're gonna get 2 teams to bowl on Friday the 31st. Realty One Group will pay for you. So we need 10 bowlers. If you don't show up, we're gonna charge you $50 for not showing up. It's only $25 a bowl. We'll pay the $25, but if you don't show up, we're gonna take $50 out of your next closing. I'm serious. To encourage you to come. So we need 10 bowlers. Me and Suzanne are gonna go already, maybe Wendy, okay, maybe Jody. Jody's very competitive. If you wanna make a bet, a side bet, grab Jody. How many strikes you gonna get? 5? I can get 6. She'll bet anything when it comes to bowling. And she'll win, because she's really, really good. So think about it. And it's gonna be in the morning at 9 o'clock, but I think they're turning off all the lights at the bowling alley as if it was midnight bowling. Have many of you done the cosmic thing at night? This is gonna be 9 o'clock in the morning. And the shots will be going at 8:30. You get a bunch of realtors together, they're drinking, regardless of the time, okay? So get with Suzanne or Brianna if you wanna come to this, okay? That's our schedule, as you know. Wendy puts a lot of time in this, along with Barbara and some of the other offices, so keep your eyes out on that. That's explaining it. The baseball game in July, a little bit away, but the more you guys come, it's a lot of fun. I don't know who the A's are playing. I'll find out from Mark. But any specific questions, you call Mark. Mark's office is handling the baseball. That's Rev Up, okay? And one last thing before we get to our guys here. This is an NAR slide that I got, okay? That you should keep near you. Make a picture, put it on your phone. It's kind of a timeline. This is where we are now, give or take, April 19th, okay? And then, as you know, they just 2-3 days ago, maybe you guys can help me, certain companies that did over $2 billion, like us, had 60 days to pay up or come to a settlement. And Realty One just came to that settlement, okay? You should have gotten the email from Cuba, okay? You guys know what I'm talking about? If you don't, I might be able to help us out here if I don't mess this up. But if I do, Suzanne is here to fix it for me, okay? This is what should have been in your email. Our future is incredibly bright because of you and the 150. No. Killing me, Amy, killing me. Okay, it talks all about the Sister Burnett case. And just so you know, just a little plug, I'm not going to read through it. If we go down here, we're so proud of the tremendous work by our team, especially our General Counsel, Alex Mihai, CFO and CEO Mike Clare, and the legal team of these guys. Bremer, Whyte, Brown, and O'Meara, who have worked tirelessly to ensure that we're able to continue to grow our business and attract new agents to our thriving brand. So you guys, we're all off the hook. We're not being sued anymore. In case you didn't know, you were never sued as realtors. We were never sued. The industry was sued, I guess. But this just puts a stamp on it that we're kind of good to go, okay? Questions about this? I'm sure you might have some from when these guys come up here, okay? So I think what we'll do now, guys, since I have this on here, we're gonna get to our sponsor, Johnny, in a minute, but these guys have been standing for 10 minutes, so it's bothering me that they're standing. So ladies and gentlemen, here's Lucian Greco. Come on in, Lucian. Say hello to everybody. What do you need?
The podium?
Oh, of course, yes.
Slides. I
You
love
want
the
to
fact
go
that
behind
slides-
there, you know? Yeah, take it
Awesome.
anywhere you want,
Never saw
anywhere you
slides
want.
before. Hi everyone, my name is Lucian Greco. I am the managing partner of Bremer Whyte's Las Vegas office. I also co-manage our Denver, Colorado office. I've been a lawyer for about 17 years, and during that entire time, I specialize in defending all different types of civil litigation cases, including real estate matters, a lot of construction-related matters. So we wanted to come through today and introduce ourselves. As Tim mentioned, we work closely with Realty One's General Counsel, Alex Mihai. He brings us in on several matters where we can come in and help you all and defend you all in litigation. But before I get into more of the substance on why we're here and some of the things we want to talk about, I want to let you know that we do work in litigation teams. If you are involved in a lawsuit and our law firm is retained, it's usually not just one lawyer, we work in teams. So I brought part of our team with me today, my partner Jeff Saab, and Andrew Sharples, who's a senior litigation attorney as well. And I'll just give them a chance to talk a little bit about their experience and their background.
From here, the podium with,
Right there.
I don't want to displace you.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for your time. My name is Jeff Saab. I'm Lucian's partner. Before becoming an attorney, I was involved in banking, finance, JP Morgan, Chase, Citigroup, about a decade. I've been an attorney for roughly 16 years, former municipal court judge pro tem. I'm the first judge appointed by Carolyn Goodman. In my capacity as an attorney, along with Lucian and others in the firm, we have worked on some of the largest cases in the state with exposure approaching $250 million, handling everything from dog bite cases, wrongful death, traumatic brain injury, construction defect. We've handled Queensridge Towers, Panorama, Turnberry East and West. So lots of different cases, lots of different things that we do, but ultimately we want to be here to be a resource for all of you. And I think at some point, and Lucian will get into it, maybe a month or two from now, we're gonna have kind of an in-depth Q&A session where we're going to not only answer questions, but also put forth examples of other cases, and we're gonna change the names to protect the innocent, of agents and brokers that got sued and why, and maybe what could have been done differently to avoid those types of things. And when we come back, and when I come back, I'm gonna talk a little bit about NRS 645 and NRS 113, and basically what the duties are for agents, brokers, etc., and what you can do to avoid pitfalls that, you know, ultimately get folks dragged into litigation for better or worse. But hopefully none of you will ever get sued. If you do, we're gonna be a resource for you. That said, Mr. Sharples?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having us. We're really looking forward to working with you and coming back and sharing our experience and our basically what we're seeing in some of these cases to help guide you in your practice. I've been practicing for about 10 years, been working on Realty One cases for the past 2. Typically, what we're seeing is cases where there's a failure to disclose a defect or something like that, or sometimes it's just a personal injury case where somebody gets hurt at a open house or something like that. But thanks again for having us. We're looking forward to coming back and sharing more insight with you.
Hey, Lucian, let me just jump in, just a little guidelines, gang. They're gonna come back in 3, 4, 5, 8 weeks, maybe with a PowerPoint, some really fancy stuff to show us. This is just so you can see who they are. Little introduction, that kind of thing. They're gonna answer some questions, but we don't wanna make it a 3-hour ask the attorney questions kind of meeting, if you get my drift. So it'll take some questions, but when they come back next time and they talk about 645, 131, that'll be the fun stuff, the really good stuff, so. Yeah, this is perfect.
Exactly, no, if I could pick up on that, we did want to come through today and really introduce ourselves, starting an ongoing dialogue with all of you so we can continue to be a resource for the whole team. You know, right now, you know, most of our interaction is with folks like Tim and General Counsel Alex Mihai, but we want to make ourselves available, be more of a resource, be more of a consistent presence in meetings like this, so we can regularly share information that might help you in your everyday practice. For today, I was thinking about what to talk about today, and there are three things that came to mind that I really just want to touch upon today in the 15, 20 minutes that we have with you today. So, for me, one of the most important things to share when I'm out talking to groups, and groups like yourself, is there are no magic answers to litigation. Litigation is a difficult thing, and every case is unique in its own way. So if I could give one piece of advice, in order to avoid litigation, or what is the best way to approach litigation, the best advice I can possibly be is avoid it at all costs. So that really means being the best agents you can be every single day, and doing your best in every single transaction and for every single client. Learning as much as you can on the front end, doing the work on the front end, and that's really the best thing you can do, because once you get brought into litigation, it's very difficult to get out. This area of law is still evolving in Nevada. Our judges in Nevada are very unpredictable. Some of the statutes have gray areas, and there's a lot of lawyers out there that are really good at turning nothing into something, right? So most of you have probably seen the TV program Suits or shows like that. And unfortunately, the real world just is not like that. Jeff doesn't show up and magically convince the judge that the case should go away. A lot of times these cases last for years. We have had a lot of success on motion practice and bringing cases to a close early, but there's always the potential it could last 2 years, 3 years. So, like I said, do the work on the front end. You work for a great company. You have a lot of resources available to you. Utilize Tim, utilize general counsel. Meetings like this where you're talking, you're working together as a team, all of that is gonna help you in your everyday practice. But again, the best way to approach litigation is to avoid litigation. So, when you're out there operating in your everyday transactions, really keep that in mind. Be the best agent you can be every single day. And I think that goes a long way in terms of avoiding cases to begin with. Part two, Jeff touched upon it. The types of cases we see the most generally involve NRS 645 and NRS 113. And those typically govern the duties of an agent in a real estate transaction and certain disclosure requirements of the seller. So a lot of the lawsuits we see, the buyer will eventually file a lawsuit against the seller and the seller's agent based on some theory of failure to disclose something, whether it's mold, whether it's a leak, something like that. So really become familiar with 645 and 113. I think if we come back, we'll probably do more of a focused presentation on those two statutes. But that is what we see the most, especially in terms of the transactions you all are dealing with on a daily basis. So keep that in mind. Along with that, there's something in law called the parole evidence rule. And basically, whenever an agreement is reduced to writing, whether it's a contract, primarily it is a contract. Whenever an agreement is reduced to writing, all extrinsic or other evidence of that agreement is generally excluded in court. So in other words, if you're gonna go through the process of putting something in writing via a contract, the court just assumes everything important is going to be in that contract. So verbal communications, conversations you may have had that are contrary to that contract are really a lot of times going to be inadmissible or excluded. So I think the general rule of thumb for you all is document everything, keep a very organized file. I know text message is the more common way of communication these days, but emails are better. Emails are much better. It's much easier to be thorough in an email. For us, when we're defending a case, if someone comes to us and they have a neat, organized file that's complete, well documented, it certainly helps us do a much better job in the defense of the case. So keep an organized file, document everything, and really just be aware of what's going on, you know? I think that's gonna go a long way in your everyday transactions. With that, guys, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I don't know how I could top that, Lucian.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I think Lucian kind of called it. I mean, I'm sure every man and woman here wants to do the best possible job that they can. And the interaction that I've had with the folks from Realty One shows that, you know, everyone here is very sincere in their desire to do a good job and to give a good experience, whether you're representing the buyer, the seller, whomever. And a lot of times these lawsuits under NRS 645 or 113, they're generally due to either misunderstandings or folks rushing to get things done. And I think we all want to do a good job, and if we just take a little extra time, dot our I's, cross our T's, we can avoid potentially 25–30% of these lawsuits filed pursuant to those two statutes. Like I said, when we come back, we'll give examples. But yeah, that's what I have to add. So.
Yeah. One thing I would get ahead of too, maybe is a question you're thinking of, is in the event that I do get sued, or in the event that I get notice of a lawsuit, what should I do? So it's always good practice to notify Tim, and then Tim would bring in Alex Mihai, your general counsel, and then Alex would make a determination on whether or not to get us involved. So always utilize your resources here first, and then they'll make the call in terms of whether or not to get us involved. But the hope is nobody ever experiences that. You don't have to go through that, and we can continue to be a resource to maybe help you avoid that in the future. But again, you know, continue to learn. Don't be asleep at the wheel. Document everything. Be aware, you know, and communicate. You know, I think that's the best advice we can give at this stage. I want to open it up to questions, but you know, keep in mind every case is different. So instead of getting into questions about maybe specific instances or personal experiences, a question I have for the group is, when we do come back, what are maybe some topics you'd like to hear more about? If anyone has that or wants to share that. Anyone?
You scared the shit out of me, Lucian. The same, yeah?
All right, I mean, if no one has any ideas or suggestions, you know, for us, we'd really like to come back and talk more about NRS 645, NRS 113. Those are the statutes we see the most that are cited in formal legal complaints. And we'll definitely come back and talk more about that.
And two things, gang. If you're like me, we text like maniacs,
Yeah.
right? No one gets on the phone anymore. Email is a little bit, but we text. When you text the other agent, then follow up with an email, please. Because if you have a case and we have to go through 847 text messages to realize what happened, it ain't gonna work, you know? Not that emails are much easier, but at least they're a little bit easier for these guys to kind of put together, okay? And the other thing is this is what Alex told me. He said, Tim, if, let's say Michelle closes a deal, she's on the buying side, 6 months from now, she gets a call from a buyer. Hey, Michelle, it's Wendy, how's things going? Good. My roof is leaking. You know, she represented Wendy, the buyer. And she's talking to Wendy, and Wendy goes, you know what, I think I'm gonna sue the seller. I think this is bullshit, they didn't disclose it, my uncle came over, and my brother Sammy said the same thing, so I'm gonna sue the seller. You have to text me that or call me. The moment, even, that may never happen, but you gotta tell me right away. We document it, I send it to Alex. Alex has this file of potential lawsuits. And the date of that lawsuit is really, really important when you first got contacted for our E&O insurance. So if you didn't tell me that, and then 4 months go by and we get a subpoena, and I go to you, that's not how we wanna have it happen. I wanna know about that 4 months before we get the subpoena. Does that kinda make sense to everybody, right? Okay.
Well, that's great advice, and from my own personal experience, I'm very comfortable with my real estate agent, and for my own personal transaction, whether it be purchase of a home or the sale of my home, I text, and I tend to text, and a lot of those messages are, when is this showing gonna be, what's the time, what's the date, you know? But when something important does come up, even for me, it's a natural inclination to text, because that is our normal method of communication. But there are times where I'm like, you know what, I need to go on my computer, I need to type up an email and actually really document what's going on here. So even me, and I'm sure Jeff and Andy, we have to catch ourselves too, because text has become so common. But an email is a much better way of communication, to actually come back, put everything in one place, and then you have that email that you can easily save to your phone.
And last but not least, since Maria's in the back, you know, we sometimes get on Maria because compliance tells her to tell you that we need all these crazy forms. Or we need one more signature, you know, and the deal's closed already. That's not when we should ask for the signature. You should have had the signature before we closed, okay? So all of this is to protect you guys. I mean, it's to protect Realty One Group too. But typically, you don't wanna get sued. I mean, you don't wanna go to a subpoena. I mean, I've been to one in my life. It was horrible. Oh my God, it was not a pleasant experience. And the attorneys were pretty nice. They're really nice. But you don't wanna go through that. So stay on top of your file, document everything. Call me and Wendy before you do something that you're not sure about. So if it does go sideways, you can blame us. Well, I don't know, Wendy, tell me to do. Oh, that's what Tim said to do. Really, really important, guys. It really, really is.
Communication is very important, yes.
So when you come back, obviously it goes to corporate funnels into you guys if they decide it goes through. Are you gonna get into the logistics of how the E&O insurance covers us as agents through the brokerage, as you guys are protecting us?
I think that's more of an internal thing, you know, the E&O coverage and, you know, what your specific policies cover and what they don't cover. I will tell you though, in some of these cases, we do work with the insurance companies, and there's separate attorneys out there that make coverage decisions on whether or not the insurance company is gonna cover that claim. And there's separate attorneys out there that actually specialize in insurance coverage and what might be a covered claim and what might not be. So that's not necessarily an area of expertise for us. It is something we touch upon, but I would tell you the majority of the instances where I've seen insurance get involved, and this isn't an always thing, but from what I've seen and what typically happens is cases involving negligence. If there's a negligence allegation, that's usually when an insurance company might pick up the defense and then be a part of the defense of that case.
So the majority of the cases that get passed to you guys, are they out of 113 or out of 645?
They're both, you know, so they're using 645 to go after the agent, and they're
Right.
using 113 to go after the actual seller themselves. So what the attorneys are doing is they're taking them and they're trying to mesh them together.
I know that, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, so it's, both are named in the complaint.
And that's a good question, Mark, not to interrupt you. I've been on Alex for a while, who's been on the insurance company, give us a handout. These are the 10 things E&O covers, or the 5 things. Not that we need to know exactly what the coverage covers, but it would be nice to know. So really good stuff.
Yeah.
You guys touch, I think one of you guys said something about open house liability. I would like to know all about that, because there's so many moving parts as an agent. Sometimes we're doing open houses for houses that are not our listing.
Yeah, you know, we've seen a couple of those cases recently. I think the most recent example we can provide was an open house where there was a staircase in an unusual spot. It was like a step down situation, and someone appearing for the open house actually fell, got injured, and just sued everybody. I think that is gonna be, a rare occasion. That's kind of a one-off, and there's only so much you can do in that situation. And that's the type of case where we would be very aggressive in trying to get you out of that case early. But keep in mind, you know, all of our judges are different. You know, if I'm in front of Judge A, I might be very confident that I'm gonna be able to get that type of case dismissed. But if I'm in front of Judge B, they might approach it entirely different, you know. So if you're part of an open house and there's potentially dangerous situations, I would just say do whatever you can to make people aware of those in advance.
Like children and pools.
You know, yeah, you
I mean, I
know,
can think of a million scenarios. Yeah.
step down situations.
Enter at your own risk, would that be a good sign to put up?
Yeah, like,
I mean-
disclosure before you enter the open house.
Get the yellow police tape and like,
Yeah.
house, wherever you wanna put it, you know.
You know, and it's difficult, right? Because you wanna create a welcoming environment. At the end of the day, you wanna make a sale, right? And you wanna have good relationships with the people you're interacting with. So there is kind of a fine line. You don't wanna go too far with the police tape, but you do wanna protect yourself as well. for sure.
And it's funny, Susie, you bring that up. True story, here in Realty Group a couple of years ago, it happened, someone fell down the stairs. Our E&O insurance, and I assume it's still the same, it might not be, covered that. And I remember talking to my buddy that worked at the company I used to work with, I won't say who they are, but they got the big red, white, and blue balloon, okay? And we're talking about it, and he checked with his E&O insurance, they didn't cover that. So E&O is not the same everywhere, from us to other companies, so, but it's bothering me, Mark, that I don't have that list, I wanna know what's covered. Now, Alex will get it for us.
What I would say briefly is, I've handled a bunch of those cases. What I would do is, to the extent possible, document everything contemporaneously, take photographs, get the names of all the witnesses, make note of the lighting conditions at the time, the flooring, document as much as you can to help us, so that if a lawsuit ensues, if there's some sort of claim, because we are very aggressive. I had one recently where the claimant was very high, and the home that he was looking at was the same floor plan as the home that he lived in, basically. And so we were very aggressive in that regard. So yeah, just document everything and don't lose anything or throw anything away. From an evidentiary perspective, it's called spoliation of evidence. And so whether it be a text message, whether it be an email, a handwritten note, hang on to it, because if the case does go into litigation and that document is destroyed, that email is gone, then the court can issue what's called an adverse inference against you or Realty One, saying, well, if that evidence existed, it would have been something negative against your interest. So always hang on to all that stuff.
Yeah, and certainly if you're at an event and something does happen, like someone falls and is injured, certainly let Tim know right away so he can help you kind of document it appropriately, but definitely let your resources here know right away for sure.
You guys good?
Yeah.
Sure? What do you think?
I have
Pretty good stuff? All right, Joe, go ahead, jeez.
Do we have a direct line to call you guys, or is that not an option?
I would say for now, definitely run things through Tim first, and, he'll help kind of filter those things. We will be back, and I think when we come back, we can tell you a little bit more, some of the questions we can field directly, and some of the ones you're probably better off running through Tim, or general counsel. But I'd say for now, it's probably safest to run things through him, and then eventually, I think we'll be able to be more of a resource and have more of a direct line to each of them.
Quick example, Lucian, a lot of questions, realtors will call, hey, Tim, my client wants to sue the HOA. We don't call Andy, Jeff, and Lucian as a referral, you don't want that,
Right.
Or
Yeah.
my client is in probate, we don't call Andy, Jeff, and Lucian for probate, right?
Right, I mean,
Okay.
we definitely don't do probate.
Okay.
If it's something along the lines, similar to what we're talking about today, I'm always open to referrals,
Okay.
we are a law firm, but I think you could kind of
Right.
decide whether or not it's something you think we'd
Sure.
be interested. And then, as I said, as we continue the dialogue, I think there'll be more direct line.
Because the claims that we'll get generally are breach of duty under NRS 645, 113, negligence per se, breach of contract, fraud in the inducement, fraud in the factum. So anything that revolves around that transaction from start to finish, that's what we would handle on capacity as defense counsel. Like Lucian said, we're a full service firm, we do everything under the sun, so there may be exceptions, or we could work on other things, but that's primarily what we do with respect to this group.
Good?
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Erica.
I'm so sorry, because I don't pay attention to a lot of things, sorry again.
That's
just to be
okay,
clear.
that's okay.
I'm busy selling houses, okay, that's right, that's my go out. But real quick on this commission lawsuit thing, so you guys, I saw the email that it settled yesterday with us and whatnot. When is it finalized, or are we finalized? Because I know for the big one, they're talking November for finalization, so what's our situation?
Yeah, most of these big lawsuits, once the settlement's reached,
Uh-huh.
there is a period of time where the lawyers are putting together the settlement documents,
Right.
settlement agreement. So I would say at least probably 30 days before everything's finalized, but the good news is there's an agreement in place. So there's really nothing to worry about at this stage,
So
while
we're
the finalities of putting together the settlement agreement take place.
Okay, so do we start using the buyer broker agreements like now?
Well, we
Because
should have been
we
using them
ran
for
into this-
15 years, right?
Like,
Let's be
well,
honest.
I
We
guess
should have
what
been
I'm
using them all
saying
along,
is-
you know?
Okay, this is why I'm asking, because I reached out to Tim this week as well, because I'm actively in the market quite a bit. I'm seeing on the MLS a lot right now, no commission, 0 commission, 1% commission. If I want to negotiate commission for my veterans, the VA hasn't caught up yet. I can't write commissions on the RPA yet, we were just talking about this. When can we start doing that, since this is, it's come to an agreement?
Okay, as of today, everything, nothing's changed with our
Okay, so
paperwork.
nothing's changed,
Nothing's
yeah.
changed with our paperwork, okay? That's another meeting for another day, but that'll go in seller concessions. That's where that's gonna go. And John might even
So
talk about that.
eventually we'll get an
when he comes
email
up.
when all that,
Correct. As of now, everything's the same, but we're doing all this way in advance, because come August, there may be a slew of new forms at LVR, adjustments to the RPA, to the listing agreement, to a few of them, okay? But
Good to know.
that timeline I had up there was November, I think,
Yeah.
was this thing is over, for the most part, okay? But we're all covered, like we had up on the screen there, we're covered as agents, Realty One is done. But now it's up to LVR and AR to come up with how they wanna change the forms. So that, I think, that affects us more every day than the lawsuit in Missouri, kind of stuff, okay? All right, again, we're good?
thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lucian, Jeff, thank you guys. All right, thank you guys. I'll get you their home cell numbers shortly, okay? In case you guys want
I did
those.
leave some business cards, up front as well, so, those should be available as well.
Yeah, so this is the one, Erica, that you could play around with for now. It just happens to be up there with the timeline that we just got this the other day, 2 days ago. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Where'd it go? So that's just the one we got a little while ago. That one, Erica. So it's in the handout. You didn't do a client. Why not? Okay, it's on the AR's website, okay, so the public can get it, okay? Alrighty, gang, lots of stuff happening in the mortgage industry, and, who's gonna help us with all that info? None other than John Morgan. There he is, man. John Morgan, everybody. How are those bagels? You want this to do your thing?
Oh, sure. Let's touch on that question real quick.
Okay.
Local and national organizations are not gonna just throw you out there and let you try and figure this out. DOJ is gonna make sure you're not out there trying to get creative and figure out. So when this stuff goes into effect and you're required to do something, there'll be clear forms. They're not gonna allow much gray area, and every time they find gray area, they're gonna shut it down. Okay, so just know you're not gonna be on your own trying to figure all this out. Touching on Rock's thing on Monday,
Yep.
I get a lot of agents asking me, what's a good CRM? You have one, okay? It's one of the best, and it's included. You just don't know how to use it, okay? And most of it is around the drip campaigns. How do I link them? How do I send them out? It's not the stuff I wanna send out. That class Monday is imperative for anybody who thinks they need to go get a different CRM because this one is not doing it. And usually, it's this very thing, is you don't know how to set up a drip, and you don't know, and you don't like what's going out, or groups, all that. So be on that class.
Carry. Hold on. You do it.
Okay, so,
Thank you, John.
I just wanted, that's this, guys, for the 800th time, that's those two classes, okay? One orientation is Realty One oriented, one suite is the CRM.
Just
Okay.
remember, rockstars.com, everything is on there.
And I think if I remember, Barbara, help me out here, once you register, you can register for all of them, like in one shot.
Yeah, there's like 5
right?
or 6 you
Right.
can register at
All
the
at
same
once.
time. You'll see all the topics, and you can do it all at once, and you'll get an email with the Zoom link. Yep.
so don't miss that.
Don't miss that.
Alright. Fannie Freddie had an announcement, last week. Again, you mentioned
Saw
VA.
that, yeah.
So Fannie Freddie came out and said, you know what, we're not gonna change this 3% rule, right here. So if they put less than 10% down, they're capped, the seller's capped at offering up to 3% concessions. And that's it. So your first question as an agent is like, where am I gonna get my commission? You know, we're gonna have to split that with the borrower or the buyer in order to make this work. So Fannie Freddie said, no, we're gonna make it to where the buyer agent compensation is in addition to the 3%, okay? And there'll be forms for all of that. There'll be special language for compensation versus concession. We know there's gonna be a big difference there. I see VA following the same suit, okay? VA is not gonna change anything in their language. But if they see how, okay, that's a compensation and it's coming from the seller. They're providing compensation, not the buyer as a closing cost. It's all we're wording. And that's, so don't get too stressed out. They're gonna have this figured out. VA is not gonna let their veterans get screwed or get put on the sideline. They're not gonna let that happen, okay? All this will be figured out.
Now,
So,
quick question, so today,
yeah.
Erica has a VA buyer,
Mhm.
on the RPA, where it says seller concessions or seller paid closing costs, can she put 6%?
Yeah,
Right, and 3 could go towards the veteran's closing costs, if they
Yep.
need them, and 3 could be compensated for our commission.
Well,
no,
Yeah.
no. You have to word it correctly.
Well, yeah, this is where the forms can be,
Well, no,
but
no, yeah, how do you word it? Because
today, can we do it?
Yes, in today's world today, because some agents are jumping the gun and already.
Today, it has to be completely documented as or compensation coming from the seller. Right now, it's broker to broker, okay, today. When someone says we're offering 2% to the co-broke.
Co-broke
that's-
is 0, let's
yeah.
say, as an example, co-broke is nothing.
Co-broke is 0,
Right.
Yep,
all right?
this is my exact example.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what do I do?
Go ahead and
3
write
the
it
most
as,
we can put it on
write it
RPA
as
today.
compensation.
So on
A
the.
seller is
general term-
contributing
3%.
so much towards buyer agent compensation. Word it that way.
That way,
Yeah,
compensation.
you have to divide it up, you can't lump it together.
Someone had said, so someone had told me, another lender had told me, and he said, well, the difference is concessions versus,
Contributions? or-
contributions.
Okay.
I've
A
never in my,
contribution is still
in my
general.
world of real estate, I've never known them to be different, and I'm like, how does that make a difference?
It's not.
It doesn't, okay.
Compensation, that's
Compensation,
the word.
that's the word.
And it has to
then
be
when it
correct.
goes on the settlement statement, all will be
Exactly,
right.
and put it on your contract too.
Well, I'll have a buyer broker agreement.
I think for now, if I was writing up an offer, a VA client, no comp in MLS, I put 3% closing costs paid by the seller, and then maybe in remarks, put seller contribution 3% towards buyer's agent's compensation, and see if that flies.
Let me
I
ask
don't
you
know if it'll
another
work,
Because-
but
let me
until
ask
we
you
get the new
another
form,
question.
that might be the only way to do it.
Okay, right, okay, so that makes sense, but let me ask you another question.
Okay.
We're in multiple offer situations, the veteran doesn't mind paying, it. Can the buyer pay if it says compensation, can it say that or no?
It
Still
has
no
to
on that.
clearly show it's coming from the seller,
Okay, okay,
period. So
understood,
it's gotta be black and white.
yeah, okay.
So in that case, we write it the way you said, have our buyer brokerage agreement, and then do the broker co-op form as well? Change your co-op? Yeah.
Sure. Hit them with more forms. What the hell?
Exactly. Pay for the crap, just like the attorney said, pay for the crap out of it,
Sure.
okay? Just
Yeah.
make sure.
We'll dazzle them with the forms, and with all that stuff.
Because VA are probably not ever gonna be able to pay our compensation.
They'll never do
No.
it.
Yeah.
That's why
And
words are
say that
important.
again, VA would probably.
VA will
what?
never change the rule that
Pay our
the
compensation.
buyer cannot pay the agent compensation. They'll never
Yeah.
change that word, because if they do, they're gonna open a can of worms.
Yeah.
And when this first came out, and someone's like, well, VA is gonna change, I go, don't hold your breath. They are not gonna open a can of worms, because they start paying for one thing they said they weren't, then they're like, well, how about they start paying for this? And then they start paying for this, now all of a sudden the VA's just not a great deal for the veteran, so. All in your wording, it's so crazy how, I mean, that's why the contract, and that's why it's how many pages,
Yeah.
because there's been litigation, there's been changes for every bit that's in that contract. So, if you have any questions, contact me. I don't care if it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, if I'm awake, which I usually am, I'll answer. But
Okay, so on VA, you can do 6% max contribution,
there's no max.
so, but conventional there is, so I would.
Conventional there is, FHA there is. But there is a misconception and a myth that 4% is the max compensation for VA.
Sick.
That 4% is just dictating you can only do a maximum of 2% towards a permanent buy down and a maximum of 2% towards the buyer's debt, personal debt, okay? The rest is underwriter's discretion of what's excessive or not. So we're doing 2-1 buy downs all over the place. So that's not excessive. So if they wanna do a 2-1 buy down, 2 points towards perm, 2 points towards their debt, plus the rest of the closing costs, that's not excessive. So we can get 6, 7, 8% at the end of the day, if you find a seller that's willing to pay it. That's,
So like in my scenario, I said that they would contribute 6% max, not to exceed, but then I had to specify how I was breaking it down, like 2% towards me, X 4% towards buyers, closing costs, whatever, so that's fine, right?
but
If we
remember, don't
specify-
lump it together in 1 6%. If you, part of it's coming to your compensation, put 4% contributed to this.
Buyers.
2% contribute to your
towards buyer's agent.
compensation.
But you can't do that on VA. Because, oh,
Towards compensation, you
Oh,
got to
towards
break it away.
compensation.
You
Okay.
can't just put it in 6 and then list it out, because now it looks like it's all 6% going towards closing costs or
So we
concessions.
put that in additional terms, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, that's the way it is.
And then let us
okay,
figure it out.
that's the word.
Do you guys get the theory here that the lender is really important
Yes.
to get the deal done?
Yes.
Because if it goes sideways at the end, of course, we're gonna blame you. It's your
Yeah,
fault.
you're gonna call me, I'm gonna tell you how the language needs to be, and then you're gonna call Tim and say,
Yeah.
okay, this is the language that has to happen,
Right.
what page, what form,
Yeah,
all that.
yeah, so,
Okay.
really
Okay.
important.
So, know this, know this, know this, know this, there's an art in it, okay? These flyers that I put back there, I can brand you on here, okay? You should have a stack of these in your car when you're doing your consultation, because on the back is an affordability calculator. You're gonna sit down and get a ballpark number of what they can and want to afford. That way you're not spinning wheels and looking at the wrong property. So, once you find that out, then you can flip it over and say, okay, so you're only putting 5% down. This is how much we can get. So everything's here to have a great conversation. You've got 30 minutes on this. And now all of a sudden you guys are like lockstep of what you're looking for and how you're gonna offer, okay? So I can rebrand, I can brand you, put you on these, but have these, use these. We'll come back to that. Got some classes coming up. May 1st, we're gonna do a lunch and learn, well, not really lunch and learn. 11 to 12, we're gonna talk about renovation loans. All right? That market's closer than you think. All right? As soon as, I'll tell you what I see on the horizon. Rates are gonna dip next month, okay? Because of how the CPI is set up. Every month, like, so April, okay, our CPI year over year is based on the last 12 readings through March. So this next month, this April reading is gonna replace last April's reading. Last April's reading was hot, super hot. This April is not gonna be near that, so we're gonna automatically get a drop in CPI. That's gonna make the market react well, not understanding why it dropped, and the rates are gonna dip. But the next 2 months weren't hot, they were low last year. So that's gonna make the market react differently. Okay, so we're on this roller coaster of up and down. And so once we get past that and over that, and Powell will eventually say, okay, rate cut September, rate cut October, one of those months. Now the rates are gonna react very favorably, and they're gonna go down. What's gonna happen when the rates start shooting for the ground?
Everybody start buying.
Inventory. I mean, we'll get people to start listing because they wanna buy now, but the inventory won't keep up. And then we're gonna have to dig up homes that need repairs. All right? So, get to this one, it's gonna be, you're gonna get all kinds of knowledge, and you're gonna be showing homes and be like, oh, we can do this. All right, let's buy this, and you can do this with this loan, okay? You don't need to be an expert, but you do need to know some of these tips and tricks, okay? One of my favorite ones, so I'm also John Maxwell, certified coach, speaker, and disc consultant. This is one of my favorite things, all right? When I was back in my former life, when I was a KW team lead and I was responsible for recruiting everybody, we would do a personality assessment on everybody, okay? And that was part of we'd sit down and go through their assessment and say, and help them understand who they are, what they were gonna do, because the business plan is the building block of your business, right? It's gonna tell you what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it. Your personality assessment is the building block of your business plan. Because a lot of you will say, oh, I'm gonna do that. You're like, that's not gonna end well, okay? Based on your personality. Talent can do anything, okay? Talent can do anything for a while, but it'll burn out. The consistency will stop, and then it'll be back to square one. I've seen it with a lot of big teams, a lot of high producers. They're cyclical.